Welcome to this video guide, which will give you tips and tricks for players looking to complete the Doomsday Heist Elite Challenges and gain the Elitist achievement. This guide focuses on the most common pitfalls that will cause players to fail the challenge and how to avoid them. Each Doomsday Heist finale has a set of criteria that you must pass in order to beat the Elite Challenge. In addition, you are not allowed to quick restart, nor are you allowed to skip trip. Act 1, the data breaches, must be completed in under 5 minutes and 30 seconds. You must kill 78 enemies, and nobody must get wasted. For Act 2, The Bogdan Problem, you must complete in under 15 minutes. Vehicle damage for the Avenger must be 5% or less, and nobody must get wasted. For Act 3, the Doomsday Scenario, you must complete in under 30 minutes, nobody must get wasted, you must fail 0 hacks, and score 150 headshots. To start with, it is worth considering for returning players, how do these challenges vary compared to those who completed the original Heist Elite challenges? Actually, they're surprisingly different, even though superficially they seem to be similar, with broadly seeking a similar set of objectives, beat a mission time without dying, and a few other targets thrown in. However, for the old Elite challenges, the main focus was very much on speed. A team member falling off their bike in, for example, Humane Labs or Pack Standard warranted scrapping an attempt immediately. However, there wasn't actually that much risk of dying, particularly in instances when you could use the Heist Heavy Combat Suit. In contrast, the time limits for the Doomsday Elite challenges are much more forgiving. Instead, the challenge is for you to stay alive, as you will be getting into a lot more gunfights than in the previous heists. You also don't have the luxury of an armor buff like the old ones, as the Heist Heavy Combat Suits do not provide any benefit for the Doomsday heists. First of all, I'll start by discussing some general principles which are useful across all the 3 acts, doing the Elite challenges, and also if you are looking to complete the Criminal Mastermind challenges. First up, teamwork pays off. Working together in these heists makes a massive difference. There is still room for debate about what is the optimal method to complete each heist. However, for me, it is more important that you are all agreed on a decent strategy and you stick to it. When under fire, you should move together, especially when you have to dash from one section of cover to the next. It is much easier to coordinate if you have microphones and can talk to each other without taking your hands off your keyboard or controller, and hugely helpful if at least one player has one. Secondly, one player should time your run. As I said, the time limits are much more forgiving than the previous Heist Elite challenges. Although that is true, you still have to be reasonably prompt. The big advantage of keeping track of your time though is you know how much you've got left, and if you're ahead enough on the game, you can tactically slow down to snail's pace if necessary to avoid an unlucky death. This is particularly true of the long Act 3 finale, where it is easy to die if you rush too much, and knowing you've got time in the bag can really take the pressure off your team. In the event you go over the time limit, you should all back out to avoid having to redo the preps and the setups again. You should consider that snacks and body armor are very important. It's highly likely you will take a lot of damage, so replenishing your health will be key. You should be comfortable with being able to open the interaction menu and to be able to quickly select both snacks and body armor when you need to. Ideally, you should commit this to your muscle memory so you can literally do the sequence of ups, downs and selects with your eyes closed. Body armor is particularly important because of the so-called rapid fire or insta-kill glitch. This is where in a fraction of a second one bad guy can unleash a full magazine of bullets hitting you in one go. You can survive one of these salvos if you have full health and some body armor remaining. However, if you have less than that, you will be instantly killed. This may sound difficult to avoid, but provided you keep your body armor topped up, you will be okay. When you move on, use cover and left-hand walls. You should aim to take out all the bad guys in a section from cover before moving out into the open. In particular, you should try to use a corner on your left-hand side for protection wherever possible. This is because your ability to hit targets is based not on your weapon barrel's line of sight, but the game camera's line of sight, and it just so happens that looks over your right shoulder when in third person. Therefore, with a left-hand corner, you will have a partial angle where you can hit bad guys and they can't hit you back. This was also a feature in Grand Theft Auto 4, and I have put a link in the description for a video that explains in detail how this works. You should ideally stay in cover when there is more than one bad guy in your field of view, and make sure you have body armor left before you move forward into the open. Lastly, 4 players makes it easier. With the Criminal Mastermind challenges, there are separate achievements for completing Criminal Mastermind with 2, 3 and 4 players, but for the elites you can get the achievement with a team of any size and the criteria do not change. Providing all your team is competent, it is vastly easier to complete the Elitist achievement with 4 players than fewer. This will split up enemy fire and will have more people to cover off bad guys when you need to take snacks and armor. Note that some of the world record holders seem to do better with 2 players, but I suspect this is due to reduced latency and risk of suffering an insta-kill death, allowing them to charge through at full speed. However, most players are not practiced enough to be able to move and shoot at that speed, and will find the extra help of additional men beneficial. The next main question is, which facility should you aim to launch your heists from? The following facilities are closest to each finale objective you have to travel to. For Act 1, the data breaches, the Grand Sonora facility is the closest. For Act 2, The Bogdan Problem, the closest facility is Paleto Bay. And for Act 3, The Doomsday Scenario, the Sandy Shores facility is your closest option. If you plan to achieve these challenges with your friends and everyone in your team is happy to buy a different facility, then having one of each of these will make completing the challenges as simple as possible. However, you should consider the ease of beating each axe par time. The Act 2 time is especially generous and can be beaten from most of the facilities. Personally, I have beaten the time comfortably from Ron Alternate's wind farm, which is the second furthest facility, with only 2 players. In comparison, Act 1 is by far the tightest for time. I have done this from Ron Alternate and Sandy Shores, but going from any of the other facilities is likely to make your task feel a lot harder. But it is much easier to beat this time if you are starting from the Grand Sonora facility than any of the others. As for Act 3, I've completed that using the Kanjali, the slower vehicle, from Grand Sonora and Ron Alternates, but if you are going from further away, you may limit yourself to the barrage to make up time. In hindsight, if I was buying one facility to go for the elite challenges, I would definitely get the Grand Sonora facility, and if my teammates already have that, I would probably choose Sandy Shores second. I would only bother getting Paleto Bay if I wanted to post a super quick time for the Act 2 finale, The Bogdan Problem, as that is easy to complete from most other facilities, and it is very far out for the preps and setups, which will make the early stages of that act feel much more frustrating and not worth the low cost for buying it. The one I would definitely avoid is the Land Act Reservoir facility, as it is far from all the finale locations, not terribly accessible, and the most expensive. Now let's move on to tips for completing each Heist Elite challenge, starting with Act 1, the data breaches. As I mentioned previously, this finale is the tightest for time. You need to get to the marked location by the satellite dishes as quickly as you can and kill the bad guys outside. You should agree with your teammates how you are getting there. You should all know which car you are getting in at the start, and preferably which seat you are getting in to the same vehicle. Once inside, you need to move relatively quickly from cover to cover, being conscious that it can be easy to die if you are caught out in the open. At every point, make sure you can jump back into cover quickly if it gets too hot. In the first section, you will have a number of bad guys who can hit you from range, both from the far end of the corridor and from the walkways to the right. I recommend using miniguns at this section, for as at distance they will still take down enemies reasonably quickly. You need to be careful when crossing the walkway over to the stairwell, as the bad guys will tend to spawn to your left and right when crossing. I recommend splitting the team up here briefly. One should concentrate on killing the soldiers directly in front of you, who will be coming from where your heist room is located in your own facility, and another player should move through the doorway and the glass screen to the right to take out the guys who spawn to the sides. Once you go down the stairs, switch to assault shotguns, which is a hugely effective weapon at close quarters. Be aware that there are bad guys in every room to the left and right. Do not move forward until you have killed all the ones that are currently in view to avoid being caught in a crossfire. When the time comes to move down the next set of stairs, again I recommend switching back to the miniguns to take out guys in the large room from a distance. There are a lot of bad guys in that room, so do not move inside until you have killed the vast majority of them. When you need to go back up, switch again to assault shotguns and dash back up the stairs to the control room. 2 more bad guys should spawn at the top of the stairs, so be prepared for them. Then you need to get on the cannons and blast all the armed forces outside. You can't die from this point onwards, and even with only 2 players, it should take you about 1 minute 5 seconds maximum to complete the remainder of the heist finale. So as long as your timer hasn't gone past 4 minutes and 20 seconds, you should be safe to make the elite par time. If your timer is greater than that, you should consider resetting immediately to avoid having to do the setups and preps again. I have never seen the kill count missed. Providing you aren't dashing through and leaving bad guys alive, you will get the elite if you beat the par time and nobody dies. Now for Act 2, The Bogdan Problem. This is laughably easy to beat the elite par time, even if your facility is not particularly close. Pick your fastest vehicles and get over there as quickly as possible. You have 2 teams, the submarine team and the air support team. It is most important that your submarine team gets to the destination first. The submarine team should get in the Stromberg and head to the destination marked in the ocean. Once inside, I recommend assault shotguns again. It's close quarters and narrow corridors, you literally cannot miss, and this weapon will drop your opponents with ease. If you have 2 players on the submarine team, then one should wait upstairs in the control room as soon as you have killed the bad guys there, whilst the other one should go down to find the prisoner. If you memorise the route you need to take, it won't take long to get there. Aim your gun at his head to intimidate him, you do not need to fire your weapon. If at this stage you have a second man on your team in the control room, then he can immediately take the photo and plug Clifford into the control console. If you are alone, you will need to retrace your steps as quickly as possible. Once the long cutscene is over, the submarine team should swim back to get in the Avenger. If there are still helicopters in the sky, keep your body armour inventory open to top it up if you get hit. The air support team's job is easy. Take off and hover over the submarine. Stay high, as this will give you an advantage, and face the coast. Then put on autopilot and have everyone on the team man the guns. Helicopters will spawn continually at the same points, and you should be able to take them out from distance. Once the submarine team have finished the cutscene, try to take out the remaining helicopters before landing, as they will be a threat to your teammates while swimming back. Then pick up your team and head to the airport hangar to finish. If you have 3 players, I recommend putting 2 players on air support and 1 in the submarine. The reason for this is that the time is very easy to beat, but you must take 5% damage or less in the Avenger. Whilst it's very possible to achieve that with only 1 player in the air, 2 players on the guns does minimise the chance of getting hit, as you take out the enemy helicopters twice as fast. Now for Act 3, The Doomsday Scenario. Arguably this is the biggest challenge. It's a long mission, and the risks of dying are high. That said, the 30-minute time limit is reasonably generous, and I have never failed to make it on a run where my team did not have to quick restart. You must be mindful, however, that 150 headshots are also required. The first option you have to consider is whether to take the barrage buggy or the Kanjali tank. It is viable to beat the Elite Challenge time taking either, and each has their own pros and cons. The barrage is faster and will probably save you up to 3 minutes over the drive. The Kanjali tank, however, makes it easy to get through the first section without dying, and, if used correctly, might, believe it or not, score you more headshots, a tactic I will discuss separately later. If you took the barrage, then the man on the front cannon should concentrate fire on the insurgent gunners, as they can potentially insta-kill your team. You should make sure you also kill the final insurgent driver, as there is a risk it can follow you down the tunnel and ram into the back of you if you leave it unchecked. When you get to the end, everyone should get out and edge around the corner with miniguns to kill the 4 juggernauts. Make sure you only engage one at a time and duck back around the corner if you are being hit. There are a lot of bad guys in the next room. As for the rest of the heist, it is of key importance that you remember where all of them spawn and be ready for them. Take out the guys on the right first from the left hand corner, then get the guys on the left of the room. Do not rush forward if there is more than 1 bad guy left alive inside there. In the next corridor section there will be a lone juggernaut. You can take him out with your minigun whilst he is charging forward with minimal threat, providing you are prepared for him. Then split up your team and take out the boxes on the 2 separate forks of the corridor. Again, keep to cover and top up your body armour if ever you run out. Also be aware that sometimes extra bad guys will spawn behind you, so keep an eye out for them on the radar, and do not engage those in front of you if this happens until they are dealt with. At the end of this section, there are 2 more juggernauts. I find it easy to take these out with the grenade launcher from the position shown in the video, as they are in a confined space. I prefer using this to the RPG, as one hit with a rocket will not kill them, but you can spam the grenades much faster. The hack section is arguably the most difficult of the whole heist, but you can make it a lot simpler if you follow these steps. Of critical importance is that your team sticks together. One player should ideally have a microphone at the very least and give instructions to the rest of the team about when you should get ready to move on. Before going through the first set of doors, the whole team should take a few seconds to refill their health and body armor. There is one normal bad guy inside straight ahead above you on a walkway who has excellent cover. If he digs in and blind fires at you, he is a monumental pain to get rid of, but you can take him out through the glass above the door before you go through into the next section. Shoot the doors open first and take out the two bad guys to the right of the main area. Then you will need to shoot a couple more to your left. When you first move forward, take cover by the small walls before you get to the steps, and then take out 3 more bad guys to your right. Once the hallway is clear, your entire team should move together. You can take either the stairs to the right, the ones to the left, or the stairwell in the centre. Whilst different players swear by one route, I personally find the difference is marginal. What's important is you all know where you are going to go in advance and that you move as a group. When you get to do the hacks, you should be able to solve all the puzzles in a minute or less, and some are actually doable in under 30 seconds. I have a separate video guide linked in the description of how to do them all if you are struggling with any. The hacker is invulnerable whilst completing the puzzle. However, during this time, Avon's goons continually respawn, so the quicker you can get it done, the more pressure you take off the rest of the team. However, you need to be mindful, if you do it too quickly, you have fewer bad guys respawning to score headshots on. Again, something I will discuss separately later. If you are defending the hacker, either take cover and fire with the assault rifles or hang back with the minigun. I find it is entirely down to personal preference as to what's more effective for you to use. After the first puzzle is completed, the direction you move between the next hack's terminal is hugely important. You should move anti-clockwise to begin with, to the right if your back is to the wall. The exception is when you come to do the final hack. You should then go back the way you came, to your left or clockwise. If you do this, you will find there are significantly fewer bad guys in your path. This is the single biggest tip in my opinion that will help you survive the heist and gain the Elitist trophy. You should generally move quickly here to avoid getting swamped, but be prepared to take cover en route and top up body armour if your health drops too much. When you have done the final hack, dig in and kill the last remaining bad guys. No more will respawn from this point. Be aware, some may be left down below on the lower level. It helps to know the angles where it is possible to hit them from if this happens to save you time. Then go up and get on the orbital cannon controls. You should let your teammates know which of the 4 trucks you are going to take out so you don't waste time going for the same one. Whoever gets there first should take out C, as it is the furthest. A and B are close together, so if you have 3 players, the same player should get both of those. If you only have 2 players on your team, the first one should get D before moving on to C. Chasing Avon down the tunnels is then relatively easy. However, one thing you must look out for is that you don't accidentally hit one of the explosive boxes in the narrow corridors. Ideally, you should shoot and destroy them from a safe distance. When running through the corridors, only the point man should fire his weapon. If he takes too much damage, he can drop back and take body armour, and the next player can take point. Again, you shouldn't find the aerial section particularly difficult. I recommend flying as high as possible, as there is less chance a crashing helicopter wreck will land on you and kill you. Taking out Avon is a priority, because once he is dead, the rest of the helicopters will disengage. Then proceed to the observatory. The one thing at this stage that can spoil the party, if your time is good, is missing the headshot count. If you are having problems making this, then I have two separate strategies that can help you try to boost this stat. The first option is to take the barrage and blast through the first section as quickly as possible. This will buy you more time for the hack section, and then you can deliberately hold off completing the final hack. This will give you more bad guy spawns in order to score more headshots. I would budget for 7 minutes and 45 seconds to complete the rest of the heist after the final hack is completed. So someone needs to time your run, and ideally you should complete the final hack at around the 22-minute mark. The second option is to take the Kanjali, and crucially, the driver should not fire the main railgun at all. The front passenger instead should use the machine gun to aim for headshots down the tunnel and against the juggernauts at the end. Because it's slower moving, it's easier to score headshots than within the barrage, and the extra armour means you're invulnerable, so there is no risk of dying, and therefore actually no need to use the main railgun at all. If you follow all of these steps, then hopefully you've just bagged the Elitist trophy.
Challenge is not me.
Oh, we got it! We got it! Boom!
Oh, I got it.
Have some of that!
Have some of that, baby.